Welcome back to another episode of Simply Robotics, the podcast. I'm your host, Monique, and you can find me on all social media platforms at Simply Robotics. I am joined by my wonderful co-host for the series of episodes, Jaren. Like, honestly, if you don't know her by now, I don't know why not, because this is her fourth time now coming back on the show, her third time coming back to talk with me about this Marvel Disney series, What If? And it's been so helpful and beneficial having Jaren here because I forget a lot of things. I don't know a lot of things. And most importantly, she's a comic reader. So she has a lot of backstory and insight and all that sort of stuff. And has just been a great person to do this with. So Jaren, let's just get into it. I paid a lot of attention this time around to The Watcher. Because I was like, I'm not crazy, you know? So we were all right. He says the same thing at the beginning of every episode. However, once we start getting the episode, he says something again. Mm-hmm. And that second little sentence or two that he says is different. So we can tag team going throughout the episode, but I figured we'll just completely go through it. And as you remember things or as you have commentary, just completely interrupt me. So the episode is titled What If and ellipses the world lost its mightiest heroes. And The Watcher, the episode starts. We're going to come back to that. And then it goes into The Watcher saying that humanity is so eager, so willing to face the impossible, yet blind to the bigger picture. And how just in 1 week, we see 3 strange and separate stories unfold. And he's referring to the story of Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, and Thor, right? So he continues saying, you know, I'm the Watcher, and where humans see chaos, I see blah, 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 a collection of individuals that can become a team of heroes. And he's like, at least that's how things played out in one universe. So he's definitely letting you know that, like, this team of heroes may not be coming together in this this episode. So do you want to start taking it away with Nick Fury and Natasha driving, and they are trying to recruit Tony Stark?
Yes. So the episode basically takes place during like one of Marvel's like most significant weeks ever, and it's Iron Man 2. And this is when I think he just finished having that fight with. We find out that the reactor that's in his chest is actually poisoning him. Like it's corrupt, and he's kind of going up his rocker. And that infamous scene of him in the donut, in the like the giant donut eating a donut. That's where we basically kick off the show. And Fury and Natasha are going to recruit Tony. Natasha is like, I'm not really feeling this. And he was like, but remember, I recruited your raggedy butt. So we're going to recruit him. Just pretty much understand that this is going to be a ragtag group of misfits. And this is what it is. So they go to have that conversation with him.
Right. And they're in the diner now. You know, Tony's like, I don't really want to do this. And they're like, yeah, you know, you do everything yourself. And we're seeing he has like some sort of scarring or whatever on his neck. And then Natasha comes up and like injects him with something that's actually supposed to like sedate him. But he ends up basically falling out of like the seat and dying. Like right there, drops dead.
Instantly.
And I was like, damn, we are, you know, like we said in the first episode, they're recapping movies, but in like, I don't know, 90 seconds.
Right. Like they literally condensed the entire movie and was like, this is the moment that matters. Yeah. Essentially.
My air conditioning just came on. I have to turn it off. Okay, hold on. God, this is going to be a struggle episode.
It's okay.
It's fine.
We got this.
Right. Yes. So this actually happens, and then, you know, the Watcher says his bit about like the heroes coming together, and then we go to Thor, Is it the first movie that they're doing in this part, right?
Yes, this is when he gets banished to Earth, and he has to prove his worth. And they're literally mirroring the opening of when he gets to Earth. It's a storm, and he's trying to get Mirror, the hammer,
Yes.
and everybody can't get over how apparently how fine Thor is. Thor don't look that good,
Yeah.
but they're referencing because like so we have to also mention um, Natasha Romanoff makes a comeback, but it's not Scarlett Johansson voicing her. It is Samuel L. Jackson voicing Nick Fury. Um, Whoever Hawkeye is, he's being voiced by the original actor. And Coulson makes a comeback. So if you're like a huge fan of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and you follow like the comics in the show, Coulson makes his great return. I love Coulson. And
Yeah,
he's
he's great.
basically just like he's giving Fury play by play of what's happening. And they got Hawkeye up in the nest, like ready to take the shot. And he's like, dang, he got some nice hair, good looking white Caucasian male. And Fury's just like, what? He was like, no, he fine. Like Coulson, like, I gotta give it to him. And then I don't know if you want to take pick up from there.
No, keep going.
So they're mirroring the show. Then Hawkeye's like, hey, let me know if you want me to take the shot. Fury's like, no, because they're mirroring like plot for plot of how he went to go get Mirror. So that Fury wants to see if he can lift the hammer because they just had the conversation
Right.
saying that nobody could lift the hammer. Not even I think he said Jackson, who they referenced from the movie, and he was like Jackson does CrossFit and he can't even lift it. So they were trying to see if Thor can lift the hammer. Right before Thor gets ready to lift the hammer, um, Hawkeye's like, take the shot. Fury's like, no. All of a sudden, it appears that Hawkeye takes the shot and hits him in the heart, and
I mean,
Thor dies
dang.
immediately. But if you know
Immediately.
Hawkeye, he never misses. He never has a misfire. So I'm sitting here like, what?
Yes.
But he hit him and he's dead. Dead, dead, dead.
Yeah, and in that moment, you're kind of like, why would, if no one knows this person, and even though he is beating up the, like, the agents and stuff on the
We gotta
ground,
back up.
yeah, it's like, why? Oh, sorry.
We totally skipped over Tony dying.
No, we didn't.
We talk about Tony dying, him being
Yes.
poisoned? Oh, we
Yes.
did? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's literally the first thing. Don't.
We moving fast as the episode, but they
The,
basically lock up Natasha. So we talked about that, how they locked up Natasha even though
we
it
didn't
wasn't
talk
her.
about how they locked her up. As you said, Hawkeye never misses, right? And what happens is they end up, it's Hawkeye's arrow that's in Thor's chest.
Yeah.
So they put Hawkeye in confinement, and as Fury and that agent that you just mentioned, Coulson, are talking, you see, like, because it's like Fury and Coulson are in the front, and like Hawkeye's kind of off to the side, but he's like, in his little cell or whatever.
And he is heartbroken over this. He is distraught.
And as they go to like question him, he's like starting to be limp, and then he dies. So for me, I'm like, let me check the time on this. It is 9 minutes into the show, and we have already lost 3 Avengers. 3 in 9 minutes. I was like, wow.
Everybody just dropping.
Dead.
Nobody can't die.
Just like that. So this is where we come back up to it. In this moment, what has happened is Natasha has been captured. She's in a truck or whatever. She's being taken to somewhere, whatever. She breaks out, and she then meets up with Dr. Ross because she's trying to. Well, no, she says that Dr. Ross is good at keeping S.H.I.E.L.D. like off her radar. So she's bringing this injector thing that she had when she was trying to sedate Tony Stark, so that Dr. Ross can inspect it and look at it.
So this is really cool. Sorry.
Okay. No, really go ahead. Go.
For those of y'all who don't know who Dr. Ross is basically Marvel does this amazing job of course correcting. So Hulk hasn't had his solo movie as far as Mark Ruffalo is concerned. He hasn't had a solo movie yet. He's had a buddy movie with Thor, but he has not had his solo movie as to like how he came to be the Hulk. So what they did was they basically plucked the guy from the second Hulk and inserted Mark Ruffalo into that story. In that version of the Hulk, Dr. Ross was also like his partner and his love interest. And together they were basically, because they go to the university And basically he used the university as his testing grounds, and they were experimenting on how to elevate human DNA, and that's how he messed up and essentially became the Hulk. And so she's really, really good at dissecting like uh, DNA and figuring out where things go wrong. She's basically his troubleshooter, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why Natasha goes to her.
Okay. No, take it. Continue.
And then they basically find out after she examines the injector that she injected Tony with. They find out not only did he not get the injection he was supposed to get, something very small but deadly was inserted into the injector to fire off instead and kill him instantly. And that's what happened. And
Right.
then Natasha mentions, because she was just like, this tech is really difficult to come by. And then Natasha references like nanotech. So as soon as she said nanotech, I thought of Ant-Man, because I'm just like, oh yeah, the Ant-Man, that's basically what they messed with and how they like shrunk and got bigger.
Okay.
So
I didn't
then,
jump to that conclusion because I wasn't crazy about Ant-Man. I saw Ant-Man in my like sprint to watch all Marvel movies before
mhm.
Infinity War. So
You should
Ant-Man
give it a rewatch. It's pretty funny.
I should
It's
give it a
good.
rewatch. You're absolutely right. And I saw Ant-Man and the
Which is
Wasp
why
at
Marvel's
Essence Fest.
genius. Because these movies, this show is making you go back and revisit the certain things in the movies to kind of like, because even if I don't sit and rewatch the whole movie, I'll like scrub it and be like, let me make sure I'm not tripping.
Mm. So after that, Fury calls Natasha and he's telling her that someone is going after all the contenders of the Avenger Initiative and basically saying at this point the only ones that are alive are Bruce and Natasha. And so she better find him and, you know, whatever. So while this is happening, there's a cutscene and Loki is arriving to that shield base because Thor has been killed. And he kind of being the god of mischief agrees to let Fury find Thor's killer basically by sometime something dealing with the sun the next day. So it's going back and what you about to interject?
What's so important about Loki arriving is not only did he arrive, but he brought the entire Asgardian army with him. He brought Sif and friends, and he also brought that frost giant thingy that was in Thor's first movie that he had, the big bad that he had to battle at the end that was like freezing everything. He brought that, and he was like, "So y'all kill my brother." No, he made it a point to it, and I was like, "I'm the new king. Y'all kill my brother. It's time to wreck shop."
Yeah.
And
So
Fury has
as
to basically like talk him off the ledge.
and Fury and Loki are having that moment, and we're cutting back and forth between them and Natasha and Bruce Banner being confronted by like the army and the military on the campus. So as that's happening, one way or another, Bruce gets shot and he starts becoming the Hulk. And, you know, he's raging, all sorts of stuff like that. Then he kind of starts like bubbling. And I'm like, oh, they are not about to. Yes. And he basically like, they don't show like gook and all that sort of stuff, but he explodes or implodes one way
From
or
the
another.
inside out.
Yeah.
You ever seen that meme when that girl's just like,
Yeah.
my best
So
friend was in the living room and she was like, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "The Hulk is not supposed to die."
Yes, exactly. He's not supposed to, but he does. And later that day, we see Natasha's like in the library on the computer on the campus, and she's trying to connect the dots about all these murders. And she finds out that a former agent, Hope, has accessed some of the files within the last like day. However, she has been dead for like 2 years. So what's really going on here?
And
She
for those of you who
senses.
don't know who Hope is,
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Hope was she was originally supposed to be picked for the Avengers in the lineup, and I think in the comics, there's a run in the comics where she actually is an Avenger. She is Ant-Man's love interest and the daughter of Hank Pym.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's basically revealed that in this universe, she did work for Shield, and she went on missions for Shield, and she essentially died on a mission for Shield.
Right. So Natasha is starting to connect the dots. She's calling Fury, and as she's doing this, she can tell that someone's in the area, and she's getting ready to square up, and she's basically getting her butt whipped by like wind. Like we don't know what's happening unless you do know. Like Jaren, you're like nanotech, Ant-Man, someone's small, you know, doing stuff there. So now we are at 20 minutes into this 30-minute episode. all of our Avengers, our potential Avengers are dead. And I'm just
It's like,
yeah, exactly. So we fast forward a little bit. Fury's in the diner again. He's listening to Natasha's voicemail where she's saying it's all about hope. It's all about hope. He gets into his car and we see that Captain Marvel, like, walkie-talkie beeper device gadget thing. And I'm like waiting for him to press the button and he like doesn't, he doesn't press it. Yeah, and I'm like, press that button.
But like, what you doing? Like, we down. We're down.
Right.
Like, we need a win.
And he's like, okay, it's all about hope. And then we see that he arrives to a cemetery, and it says Hope Van something, her full name, on the tombstone. And then we hear and see that Fury is greeted by Hank Pym, who's Hope's father. And they have like this whole bunch of dialogue. Everything is revealed that Jaren just said. And they do some flashbacks to show how Hank did shrink down to size and how he was going in everybody's ears and messing them up from the inside out, basically. And I thought that was like, when they showed the part with the Hulk and like what he was doing to his heart, I was like, that's really brutal. Like, like, I didn't really like that. So, what happened?
They're pulling a lot from the comics because Hank Pym in the comics they basically chalked it up to, because like when he beat up Natasha Romanoff, I'm like, I know she like an agent and everything, but you going kind of hard to be like beating up a woman, like, dang. But in the comics, that's how he was, like, the Pym particles that he takes to make himself swing it. He used himself as like the prototype he did it before he perfected the Pym particles. So it essentially like messed with him and made him a lot more like aggressive and angry. Like, he's basically a short fuse, and the Pym particles, like, you know how when they told Steve Rogers, like, when you take the serum, it enhances what you are, essentially. It makes you more of what you are. That's essentially what the Pym particles did to Hank. Like, they made him worse than he already was. He was already on a short fuse. So, which was interesting because he kept talking about this devotion to his love and his love and devotion to his daughter and his wife. But in the comics, he beat the crap out of his wife. Like, he the way he did Natasha, that's how he did his wife in the comics. They just swapped them out. So I also think it's interesting that they revealed that it was Hank doing this all along, because I'm also just like, if this is all about hope, why not just go right after Fury? Why take out the Avengers?
Oh, because
he's
trying to stop Fury from like hurting more people by making them work for S.H.I.E.L.D.
That didn't really add up to me.
No, because the wrong way to go about it. Because why are you killing them?
No, because I'm like, if that's the case, take out Fury and be done.
Yeah. But it's like he's being spiteful, so like Fury can feel lost because he's felt lost, But it's like, and Fury says that, so like, you're trying to get at me, but by killing everybody. And he's like, why'd you even kill Thor? Like, Thor just came out of nowhere.
He said it. He's like, I don't give a damn about them.
No, but was that really him or was that Loki? Because, okay, we're gonna get to listeners, right? So what happens is like they have this like fight scene. I actually really, really enjoyed this fight scene. This is like Loki is using his illusion, so we're seeing a bunch of Furies. But before we see the bunch of Furies, like Fury is really beating the crap out of this like nano gadget fly thing. Like, he's swatting him all around. And I think so far it was just a really, really good fight scene. So we're seeing all these illusions, and Fury is saying a lot of stuff about, I don't give a damn about any of the Avengers. But I'm like, is that really Loki or is it Fury? Because
I feel like either way, that's exactly what Nick Fury would say.
Like, it doesn't even matter.
I feel like he was channeling his inner Nick Fury. Nick Fury was like, listen, I don't give a damn. They all could go. As long as they serve my purpose, they all could go.
Right. So the fight's over. It's revealed that it's Loki behind all the shenanigans and, the god of mischief. And Hank is just basically like, if you cared about her, if Hope was everything that you're saying she was to you, then like honor her. And I was like, okay, so where do we go with that moment,
Right.
Like, okay, whatever. So Loki basically is like, you know what? I'm having a great time here on Midgard/Earth, and I think I'm going to extend my stay. Yeah, like I
thought it was so funny the way Nick Fury whipped around and was like, how long?
It was like very, very ethnic of him because yes, how long you think you about to stay here?
He was missing one word from that line. He was just like, how long? And then you cut to the next scene of him standing in front of the UN, and he's just like, so I'm the leader, I'm the king now, I'm the ruler, y'all need to be ruled, and I'm here to do it.
Yes. And, you know, it makes sense because the whole point, weren't the Avengers brought together to stop Loki? And they're all dead thanks to Hank. So there's no, what?
Go ahead, finish.
Oh, no, I'm saying, so there's no one to stop Loki and this plan, right?
Which brings me back to my point. It didn't make sense for Hank to take out all of the Avengers when he could have just went after Fury and called it a day. Which is why I think Loki set that whole thing up from jump.
Because he's the god of mischief. I also
think he's the god of mischief, and this is also Loki before he gets to the TVA and all that stuff. So he's still chasing after like small bones. And then it's just the way, because like if you watch any of the Thor movies, if you've seen anything with Loki cannot stand Thor.
Right.
Never liked his brother, didn't want nothing to do with him, didn't like his brother, didn't love his brother, been plotting to kill him since they was kids. Like I think in Thor Ragnarok, he talked about how when they were kids, he tried to kill him with a snake. Like he been after Thor from day one. So the fact that he showed up and was like, I'm here to avenge my brother, I was just like, no, you're not.
You're probably right.
I'm sorry. I think that Loki got to Hank early. It was like, well, shoot, since she want to take out Fury, go ahead and take out the Avengers for me too, because I think it made it easier for him to ascend to the throne if his brother ends up dead and it wasn't by his hand. Like nobody's gonna question him if his brother died on Earth, killed by a human, versus dying in Midgard mysteriously and nobody can explain his death.
Right.
And then it makes it easier for people to accept him being king and being like, well, shoot, go ahead and take over Earth too, because they killed Thor. So we need to take over them because they out of pocket. You know what I mean? Like he benefited the most from all of this.
Yeah.
Like he walked away truly the winner.
Yeah. Yeah. Because ultimately there's no one to stop Loki's plan. So why wouldn't Loki get to like Hank and manipulate the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. killed his daughter so that he can stop this mission, the initiative. Yeah.
Because he picked Hank because one, I think he picked Hank because one, Hank has a really short fuse, so it's easy to set him off. And two, Hank can take out everybody else, but he can't take out Loki. Versus like if he would have used the Hulk or somebody, like it's all fun and games until the Hulk decides the Hulk smash you too.
And we've seen that. We've seen that in one timeline.
Right. So I think.
Yeah. So what's happening? Loki's at the United Nations, and then we start to hear the Watcher. This is verbatim. He says, I believe in this universe as in every other, hope never dies, as long as someone keeps their good eye on the bigger picture. And as he's saying this, we're seeing like Fury is in some sort of like a deep freezer or some sort, and he walks over to like this chunk of ice, and he wipes over it, and we see Captain America's shield. And he says, welcome back, Captain. And at first, like, you know, you're like, oh, he's talking to the shield. But they pan slightly to the right, and we see Captain Marvel, and she's like, okay, like, where's the fight? And then episode's over. And I'm like, oh, so what? Who are the Avengers in this universe? Like, yeah, Captain America, there's two captains, Captain Marvel. Like, who else could it be?
We know that Marvel doesn't do throwaways. So what I'm thinking is, I think all of these episodes are more connected than we think they are.
Oh, absolutely.
I think they're going to be key characters from these episodes. Because we've seen in the trailers, we've seen like that Avengers shot, and it's like T'Challa. I think I saw T'Challa. What's his name? Killmonger.
Didn't see it. Okay.
But it's people from this episode. It's people from these episodes. And I think we're going to get... But I don't know who the big bad is going to be. Is it going to be Loki?
It could be Gamora.
Or is it going to be Gamora? Yeah. Is it going to be Gamora?
So good. I actually think finally, like, I really enjoyed this episode probably more than the others.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, I feel like the T'Challa episode was just so sentimental, you know? But I was, like, really most entertained by this episode. I felt like finally,
I think this episode followed the traditional trajectory of a variant, of a what if variant, because what ifs are dark, and like the amount of people that dropped in this
like
episode,
flies, like
and this was like
really.
over the span of a week. They also did like the traditional thing when Marvel tells time, they go by like the day of the week, so it flashed like Monday. By Friday, everybody was dead, gone, with no,
Seriously.
like in the span of a week.
Yeah, the one thing I found to be quite jarring in this episode, however, was the lip syncing. I
Yes. Okay. I thought it was just me. I was like,
thank
something
you.
is off
It
with their
was just I
mouth. And
couldn't
I
I
don't know if
couldn't
I
do
was
it.
so caught up in episode 2 with T'Challa and just like being sentimental, like you said, that I didn't really pay attention to it. But in this episode, I'm like, this is like rotoscoping gone bad. Like, you know, when it's like that delay and they turn and it's like, doo, 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 doo,
Yeah,
doo. Like, they would say something and then they're not talking anymore, but mouths are still moving, or their mouths will start moving before they could get what they were saying out. Like, I don't know. It was weird.
it was just too much for me. Yeah,
But
and
they
I don't
nailed
know.
the action scenes.
Yes, they did. And I don't think the lip syncing in the first episode was that
I don't
distracting
know.
either. I don't think so, but yeah, actually,
You think it was just this episode?
I think it was just this episode for sure. For sure. I wanted to actually get really quick, sorry listeners, what episode the next episode would be, because I finally have it. I'm showing it here on my phone. It's even hard to see on here. But just like all the episodes. So the next episode's supposed to be Doctor Strange Supremo. So do you have any thoughts about I'm just happy to see Doctor Strange. Like after the Spider-Man trailer dropped
I'm
by
trying not to
accident.
watch it. It's everywhere. I'm trying so hard not to watch it. I don't
Oh
want to
dang.
watch it. I don't want to see it. I want to see the movie. I want to
Oh,
see the
okay.
trailer.
Well then
I want
never
to see the
mind. But
movie.
I'm excited about it. I was happy to see
But that
Doctor
you
Strange.
mentioned Supremo,
Yes, go ahead.
the highest level that they can reach as like practicing magic is the Supreme, and they reference that a lot in what's her name?
The Great One?
WandaVision. They reference it a
Oh.
lot in WandaVision.
That was so off.
I wonder if he becomes the Supreme, and it's like, what happens if he becomes in this? Because I don't know how I feel about that. I don't really like Doctor Strange like that. Like, he's funny, but I don't really like him as a person. Like,
Oh, I don't think he's supposed to be likable as a person. Like,
that's
he's
what
a
I'm
jerk.
saying, and I'm like, that's a lot of power to give a butthole.
Yeah, I feel you.
But and I think also, I could be wrong, but I think once you achieve that power, it's supposed to corrupt you at some point.
We need that. You said variants are dark.
Variants are dark, so achieving that much power, it eventually, depending on the type of person you are, it corrupts you. Like, that's why it was so important that Steve Rogers was Captain America, because it would have corrupted anybody else. And I think that's why in Captain America and the Winter Soldier, no, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he says that, Falcon says that, like, they ask him, would you ever take the serum? And he's like, no, I don't need that, because I think he knows, like, it's not meant for him. Like,
Right.
it takes a very special person to be able to take that serum and still do and be good.
Yeah, and we
So,
saw what
can
happened.
we talk about the art? What? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I just said we saw what happened when someone took the serum that didn't really have such a pure, genuine heart. We saw what happened with that, yeah.
Two things. So it's very interesting because we kind of saw this in the last episode. Like, you took Chala completely out of his element, but he was still who he was at his core. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter unless Loki goes to the TVA. No matter what universe he's in, he's always going to try to rule Earth. He's always going to try. So you know what I mean?
Yes.
But I'm like, even after all of that, you finally got to be king of Asgard, and that still wasn't enough for you.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, he totally could have went back to Asgard, ruled as king, blah blah blah. It's never enough. Like, he has to have more. It's never enough. He has to have Earth. Like, he's never gonna feel like he achieved anything unless he gets Earth, which is actually low hanging fruit for him.
It is, and in the TVA they did talk about that when they were going through his like highlight reel almost or whatever. Like, in every universe, he's
stuck in a time loop. He's going to repeat, no matter how they lay it out or how they roll the dice. he's essentially going to repeat the same game plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's our time this week.
Can we talk about the art really quick?
Oh yeah, sure.
So like the zoom out scenes of like the landscapes
Mm-hmm.
was amazing. Those paintings was amazing, and the shots of like, so they would zoom out and it was like Fury and Natasha driving through the desert, and then you see the Watcher like just watching in the back, and all you see is his eyes
Yes.
closing. Those
Yes.
were so good.
Yes. I liked how they did that. They did like some pans too, and then you would just like see the Watcher, yeah, like in the
Hmm.
see his eyes and stuff like that. Yeah. That's really good. They gotta I don't know. Well they probably might do an art of book.
They should. They should.
It's like, do we need more art of books? Like
There's never enough. But that those are really good. They did a really good job designing like Fury and Bruce Banner and Natasha. Like they did a really good job designing their characters once
yeah.
again. And I get that they're solidifying their own art style. It's just I don't know if I like this cell shading for like it's cool in video games when they have to do like the quick short story and they gotta explain something. But look longer than 5 to 10 minutes is a little it's a lot for me.
I'm gonna ask you to repeat that. It's gonna be a
I was
choppy
basically
episode,
saying
but
like
I'm gonna
I
do
like
it.
I like the art. No, I'm torn about the art style because I like it in video games when they like have to do a short mission and tell a quick story. But looking at it for longer than 5 to 10 minutes is a lot,
I feel
especially
you.
when the lip syncing doesn't sync.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. That's how I felt from the very beginning. To
Yeah,
get
it's a
more
lot.
people on the bandwagon. But I think again because of all that's happening in this episode, it wasn't that bothersome to me. I guess the T'Challa episode maybe for me in some aspects is like slower, so my eyes could settle more on the art style of it.
Hmm.
This one there is enough because they were killing people left and right. I feel like my attention was really focused on other things and the lip syncing being off.
Hmm.
So, but yeah,
Hats off to the director, to the storyboarders for this because y'all literally took like 4 or 5 movies and condensed them to 30 minutes.
I'm
And you
saying
did it seamlessly because that
yes,
Hulk movie, I would have never figured out how they were able to like insert it and make it make sense because that's like the Hulk movie that they reference is almost like a variant of itself because
yes,
it wasn't even the Hulk that we know and love, and it was just like they took the Hulk, they took Thor, they took
Tony,
the they took like 3 or 4 movies and chopped it down. It was like from the
yeah,
top, give them the highlights, keep it short and sweet.
yeah. At
And the
first I
pacing
thought,
isn't too bad. Like at first I felt like it was too fast, but now I'm like, I get it.
yeah.
I'm on board now.
When you think about how much they told, you're like, yeah, the pacing wasn't all that horrible. It was more the shock that they were dropping like flies. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
at first I thought the episode was like 45 minutes, and I was like, nope, they still kept it in that 30 minutes. Like, they are, you gotta catch up, like, you know?
And this is like you can't be brand new coming into this time about you finna start off with what if. You have to do your homework. You need to go watch all of the Avenger movies. You might even have to read a comic book or two. And as long as you're watching the movies, you can follow. But like one of my friends, she's not really into Marvel. She's like, I'm gonna watch What If. And then she came out the room like, help me. And I was like, go back.
Nope.
You got
Yep.
movies to watch.
Movies, watch a couple YouTube videos or something, then come over here. Like,
I'm like, we'll be here for days if you ask me to explain everything to you.
yeah, we're not doing that. No, but for real, this is the end now. Jaren, thank you so much. This has been fun, and I will just share for the listeners. I do have some friends. Alex will be back. I already have her scheduled to be back. We will be joined by a man at some point because another friend was like, I want to join you. So I had him pick his episode, and I am already anticipating the finale. I probably shouldn't speak about it, but I'm looking forward to the finale episode 2 because I'll be bringing on a different person. So this is turning out to be fun and mixing and mingling friends and, talking about this. I'm having a good time.
Me too. I'm having an awesome time. This is
Yeah.
fun.
So again, Jaren, just drop your social media where people
You can
can
follow
find
me
you.
on all social media platforms at Jaren Merchant. So it's JAARON. Last name Merchant, like a sales merchant. You can follow me on all social media platforms.
Nice. And I am, as always, Simply Robotics on everything. And until next time, bye.
Bye.